The flickering gaslight cast long shadows across the worn cobblestones of New Orleans as I hurried home, a knot of unease tightening in my stomach. My name is Daniel, and at 47 I thought I had it all: a beautiful wife, a comfortable home in the historic French Quarter, and a life filled with a quiet, predictable joy. Olivia, my wife of 18 years, was the vibrant heart of our little world, a woman whose laughter could chase away the deepest shadows, or so I believed. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. Olivia, usually so warm and affectionate, began to withdraw. Her kisses became perfunctory, her hugs fleeting. She spent more time on her phone, her fingers dancing across the screen with a secretive smile that vanished whenever I entered the room. "Just catching up with friends," she'd say, her eyes darting away from mine. I dismissed it as stress. Olivia, 43, worked as a curator at the New Orleans Museum of Art, a demanding job that often left her exhausted. I tried to be supportive, cooking her favorite meals, drawing her a bath, offering a listening ear. But my efforts seemed to fall flat, met with a detached politeness that chilled me to the bone. The first real crack in our FOD appeared one rainy Tuesday evening. I came home early from my accounting job, eager to surprise Olivia with a bouquet of her favorite lilies. The front door was unlocked, which was unusual, and a faint scent of sandalwood hung in the air, a fragrance Olivia never wore. "Olivia," I called out, my voice echoing through the silent house. No response. I found her in the living room, curled up on the sofa, fast asleep, or so I thought. As I drew closer, I noticed the faint tremor in her chest, the way her eyelids fluttered slightly. She was faking. A wave of confusion washed over me. Why would she pretend to be asleep? Was she hiding something? I gently shook her shoulder. "Olivia, honey, I'm home." She startled awake, her eyes wide with a mixture of surprise and was that fear. "Daniel, you're early," she stammered, her hand instinctively reaching for her phone, which lay face down on the coffee table. "Yeah, I wanted to surprise you." "Everything okay?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Course, everything's fine. Just tired," she said, avoiding my gaze. Her hand hovered over her phone as if protecting it from my prying eyes. That's when I saw it. A notification flashed across the screen, a name I didn't recognize. "Michael." The message preview read, "Can't wait to see you tomorrow night." A cold dread gripped my heart. Michael? Who was Michael? I knew all of Olivia's close friends, and there was no Michael among them. My mind raced, conjuring up images of clandestine meetings, whispered secrets, and stolen kisses. "Who's Michael?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Olivia's face paled. She hesitated, her eyes darting around the room, searching for an escape. "Michael? Oh, he's a new colleague at the museum. We're working on a special exhibit together." Her explanation sounded hollow, rehearsed. I knew Olivia. I knew when she was lying. "An exhibit? What exhibit? You haven't mentioned anything about a new exhibit," she stammered, her words tumbling over each other. It's still in the early stages. We're not ready to announce it yet." I stared at her, my heart pounding in my chest. The lies hung in the air between us, thick and suffocating. I wanted to believe her desperately, but the evidence was mounting, whispering insidious doubts in my ear. "Let me see your phone," I said, my voice firm, betraying none of the turmoil raging inside me. "Don't be ridiculous, Daniel. You can't just demand to see my phone. That's an invasion of privacy," she protested, clutching the device to her chest. "I have a right to know, Olivia. I'm your husband. I deserve the truth." She refused, her grip tightening on the phone. We stood there, locked in a silent battle of wills, the unspoken accusations hanging heavy in the air. Finally, I turned and walked away, the weight of her betrayal pressing down on me like a physical burden. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, my mind replaying every interaction with Olivia over the past few weeks, searching for clues I had missed, signs I had ignored. The more I thought about it, the more convinced I became that she was hiding something, something that threatened to shatter our marriage. The next day I couldn't focus at work. The numbers swam before my eyes, the spreadsheets blurring into meaningless patterns. All I could think about was Olivia and Michael, their secret meetings, their whispered conversations. I felt like a fool, a naive idiot who had been blind to the truth for too long. Driven by a desperate need for answers, I decided to follow Olivia after work. I knew it was a breach of trust, a violation of her privacy, but I couldn't bear the uncertainty any longer. I had to know the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I parked my car a block away from the museum and waited, my heart pounding in my chest. As the clock struck 5, I saw Olivia emerge, her face radiant, a smile playing on her lips. She walked briskly down the street, her eyes scanning the crowd as if searching for someone. And then I saw him. A tall, handsome man with dark hair and a confident swagger. Michael. He greeted Olivia with a warm embrace, his hand lingering on her back as they walked away together, their heads bent close in intimate conversation. I followed them, keeping a safe distance, my stomach churning with a mixture of anger and despair. They walked hand in hand through the French Quarter, their laughter echoing through the narrow streets. They stopped at a small, secluded bistro, tucked away from the tourist crowds, and disappeared inside. I parked across the street and watched, my heart breaking with every passing minute. I imagined them inside, sharing a romantic dinner, whispering sweet nothings, their hands intertwined beneath the table. The thought was unbearable. After what seemed like an eternity, they emerged from the bistro, their faces flushed, their eyes sparkling with a shared secret. They walked to a nearby hotel, a discreet establishment known for its privacy, and disappeared inside. I sat there, paralyzed, unable to move. The truth had hit me like a punch to the gut, leaving me gasping for air. Olivia was having an affair. She was betraying me, lying to me, destroying everything we had built together. The anger surged through me, hot and blinding. I wanted to storm into the hotel, confront them, tear them apart. But a part of me, a small, rational voice, told me to wait, to gather evidence, to plan my next move. I drove home, numb with shock, the image of Olivia and Michael seared into my brain. I couldn't face her. I couldn't pretend that everything was normal. I packed a bag and drove to a cheap motel on the outskirts of the city, a place where I could be alone with my pain. I spent the next few days in a daze, barely eating, barely sleeping. I replayed every moment of our marriage, searching for signs I had missed, moments when Olivia's affections had begun to wane. I felt like a fool, a pathetic cuckold who had been living a lie for years. As the initial shock began to subside, the anger returned, stronger than ever. I wanted revenge. I wanted to make Olivia and Michael pay for the pain they had inflicted on me. I hired a private investigator, a discreet professional named Sarah, to gather evidence of Olivia's affair. I wanted proof, irrefutable proof, that I could use in the divorce proceedings. I also wanted to know everything about Michael, his background, his motivations, his weaknesses. Sarah was efficient and thorough. Within a week, she had compiled a dossier of evidence, including photographs of Olivia and Michael entering and leaving the hotel, copies of their text messages, and a detailed report of their activities. I learned that Michael was also married, a successful lawyer with a wife and 2 children in the suburbs. He was a serial cheater, a man who thrived on the thrill of the forbidden, the excitement of the chase. The information filled me with a cold, calculating rage. I wasn't just dealing with a wife who had made a mistake. I was dealing with 2 people who had deliberately set out to deceive and betray their spouses. I decided to confront Olivia. I couldn't live with the lies any longer. I called her and asked her to meet me at a neutral location, a quiet park on the edge of the city. She arrived, her face pale, her eyes filled with a mixture of guilt and defiance. "Daniel, what's going on? Why did you want to meet here?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. I took a deep breath and pulled out the dossier of evidence. I laid it out on the park bench, the photographs and text messages spread before her like a damning indictment. "Care to explain this, Olivia?" I asked, my voice cold and devoid of emotion. She stared at the evidence, her face crumbling. "Daniel, she stammered, unable to meet my gaze. "Who's Michael, Olivia? Is he just a colleague working on a special exhibit? Or is he something more?" She burst into tears, her body shaking with sobs. "It just happened, Daniel. I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake." "Mistake? You've been having an affair for weeks, Olivia. You've been lying to me, deceiving me, betraying me. How can you call that a mistake?" "I was unhappy, Daniel. You weren't paying attention to me. I felt neglected, unloved." Words stung, but I refused to let them sway me. "That's no excuse for what you've done, Olivia. We could have talked, we could have worked through our problems. But instead, you chose to betray me, to destroy our marriage. I'm sorry, Daniel, I truly am. Can you ever forgive me?" I looked at her, at the woman I had loved for so long, and I felt nothing but contempt. The love I had once felt for her had been replaced by a cold, hard anger. "No, Olivia, I can never forgive you. You've broken my heart, you've shattered my trust, and you've destroyed everything we had together." I stood up and walked away, leaving her sobbing on the park bench. I filed for divorce the next day, citing adultery as the grounds. But divorce wasn't enough. I wanted Michael to pay for his role in destroying my marriage. I contacted his wife, Emily, and presented her with the evidence of his affair. She was devastated, heartbroken, but also grateful for the truth. Together, Emily and I devised a plan to expose Michael's infidelity and ruin his career. We leaked the evidence to the local newspaper, along with a statement detailing his affair and his history of cheating. The story went viral, turning Michael into a pariah in the legal community. He lost his job, his reputation, and his family. His life was in ruins, just as he had ruined mine. It wasn't enough to heal my broken heart, but it brought me a sense of satisfaction, a feeling that justice had been served. I sold our house in the French Quarter and moved to a small town in the mountains, far away from the memories of Olivia and the pain of her betrayal. I started a new life, a life focused on healing and self-discovery. It took time, but I eventually learned to forgive myself for being so naive, so trusting. I learned that betrayal is a part of life, that people are capable of great cruelty, but also of great resilience. I never remarried, but I found happiness in my solitude, in the beauty of the mountains, and in the simple joys of life. Olivia's betrayal had left a scar on my heart, but it had also made me stronger, wiser, and more appreciative of the love and trust that I had once taken for granted. Years later, I received a letter from Olivia. She was living in another state, working as a waitress, and struggling to make ends meet. She apologized for the pain she had caused me and asked for my forgiveness. I didn't respond. I had moved on. I had forgiven her, not for her sake, but for my own. I had finally found peace, and I wasn't willing to let her disrupt it. My story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most loving relationships can be shattered by betrayal. It's a story of heartbreak, anger, and revenge, but also of healing, forgiveness, and the resilience of the human spirit. It's a story that I hope will resonate with anyone who has ever been betrayed, anyone who has ever felt the sting of infidelity, anyone who has ever struggled to find their way back from the brink of despair. And to you, the reader, remember this. Protect your heart, trust your instincts, and never let anyone dim your light. You deserve to be loved, respected, and cherished, and if someone tries to take that away from you, don't be afraid to fight back. Your happiness is worth fighting for.